Yep. Just.
Can I just clarify what Andrew was saying? Given that the Prime Minister's unlikely to split it and you're not going to push for a split, how can you campaign for constitutional recognition if it's going to be tied to one vote to the voice and you're going to be campaigning no? And then just on that, sitting down with the Prime Minister, what amendments are you going to put forward to the bill? Do you have specific amendments where they agreed to a party room that you're going to bring forward and say, this is the question we want?
Well, again, we'll sit down in good faith and see what the submissions say, and we've appointed people who are genuinely interested in improving the bill that the government's proposing, and we'll look at that. But we don't support the government's proposal at the moment. I've been very clear about that. The form of words that they're proposing to put to the electorate, we don't support those.
Mr Dutton, the Liberals' yes to constitutional recognition, would that be symbolic recognition of First Nations people only, or do you favour including migrant and multicultural communities, as Warren Mundine has suggested?
Well, I believe that there needs to be a bipartisan approach to it. I'm happy to sit down with the Prime Minister and look at the pros and cons of different forms of words. As the constitutional lawyers have pointed out in recent weeks, it needs to be a very tight form of words, lest it give rise to other difficulties in the High Court's interpretation and the expansion of what it was first believed to provide for. So I'm happy to have that conversation and look at the legal advice and sit down with him in a constructive way. Mark?
Thanks, Mr Dutton. Just to put a finer point on Phil's question, you're now making a public statement you're going to actively campaign against this referendum. So if the referendum gets up, will you resign? Well,
Mark, again, I mean, people can draw their own conclusions around, what people should do, and the Canberra bubble will always have those sort of questions. I think that the fact is that we have taken a decision that we believe is in our country's best interests. You can propose the same question, I presume you have, to the Prime Minister about whether he'll resign, and they're questions that you can legitimately put. But my motivation here is to make sure that we do what is in our country's best interests. And the Liberal Party today has taken a very strong position that we don't support the Prime Minister's divisive Canberra voice, but that we do propose an arrangement which recognises Indigenous people in the Constitution. It also means that we can listen to local voices so that we can get the best possible outcomes, including in WA, where there is very significant concern, particularly in those regional communities where they don't support the voice. And the Prime Minister is not listening to those words. So listening to a local advisory body, people who are living in that community, not in capital cities elsewhere, I think it gives us the best chance of working a way forward to help Indigenous Australians. And I also think it's the less risky approach, because there is an enormous amount of risk in what the Prime Minister is proposing with the breadth of words that he has in there, that ultimately will mean a very significant change to the system of government in our country. And I think as this debate goes on over the next few months, people will realise that.